Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Premier talked about the changes he's making to Manitoba Hydro. He failed to mention that while Hydro may be lowering the amount in the bookkeeping line called maintenance, Hydro is actually just transferring the expenses to the capital budget and now actually resulting in an overall expense that is higher, not lower, because contracting out the replacing hydro poles is now a capital expense that can be 2 to 3 times more costly than doing the exact same job through internal personnel. Why is the Premier saying he's going to help hydro workers and then doing the opposite?
Mr. Speaker, there's close to 700 additional linemen in Manitoba. We made a commitment in the budget to have the linemen as a registered trade in this province and across the country. It'll be a red seal trade. There are many more linemen working right now, and we expect Manitoba Hydro to do their job as efficiently as possible, and we expect them to use their existing workforce to do that when they can demonstrate that it's efficient to do it that way, and we fully expect them to follow up on that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I understand that on March 15th, the Premier told the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers that he would support IBEW workers as represented by Ken Woodley, who is in the gallery today. Yet, 3 days after this, on March 18th, IBEW was told that Hydro is accepting bids from private companies for a contract to replace 3,000 hydro poles a year for many years without even allowing IBEW to be involved or bid on the contract. Will the Premier commit today to employing Manitoba Hydro workers for Manitoba Hydro jobs and actually honor his own words of March the 15th?
He's never done that.
Mr. Speaker, we have said we will have additional training for linemen in Manitoba so more people can enter that very valuable trade. We have said to Manitoba Hydro to be as efficient as possible, use linemen. They've hired over 600 plus more linemen in the province of Manitoba. We'd like to see it a fully standardized trade with proper qualifications, with a training program to go along with that, Mr. Speaker. We expect Manitoba Hydro to be as efficient as possible, to use their existing personnel to get the job done. And we ask them to look at that on a business case basis, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Manitoba Hydro workers have been replacing hydro poles for decades. They are known for their expertise in Manitoba, nationally, and indeed internationally. They were some of the first workers called for help in Toronto's ice storm, and many gave up their Christmases to help. And yet this NDP government is making the decision not to employ Manitoba's Crown Corporation employees, but rather to contract the work out. I asked the Premier, who loves contracting out work to out-of-province companies like Stars and Terranet, why not let Manitoba Hydro expand its capacity to keep the work and the employees in the province?
Speaker, that's exactly what we've said. We've said that we will train more linemen in Manitoba. We will make it a fully acknowledged trade, a red seal trade. We've seen over 600 plus additional linemen hired during our time in office, Mr. Speaker. We expect Manitoba Hydro to work with their employee organizations, including the IBEW, to look at the best possible way to replace hydro poles, as well as refurbish the broader resources of Manitoba Hydro. We think it's critically important that we have additional transmission in the province, Mr. Speaker. We think it's critically important that we build additional generation capacity in the next 10 to 12 years before we need it, so that we can make profits off that in the export market, which will pay down the cost of new generation capacity. We expect Manitoba Hydro to work with its employee groups to look at the most efficient way possible to replace critical infrastructure. That includes hydro poles, Mr. Speaker.